For 10,000 years, civilizations have risen and fallen, fading into dust and memory. The great empires of Sumer, Rome, and the Maya all believed they were eternal, yet each met its end. In 1972, at the height of the Cold War and the dawn of the digital age, a team of researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology dared to ask a question no one wanted to answer. When will our civilization fall? Not if, but when. This wasn't a question for historians or philosophers. It was a question for a computer. They were about to run a simulation that would echo through the decades, a digital prophecy that we are now living through. What they discovered would be dismissed, ignored, and ultimately proven terrifyingly accurate. This is the story of the prediction that haunts our modern world. They called their creation World 3. It was more than just a program. It was a digital Earth in a box, housed in a 1970s computer lab filled with blinking lights, whirring tape reels, and stacks of punch cards. This revolutionary model was designed to simulate the future of humanity. The scientists fed the machine data on 5 critical variables: population growth, agricultural production, non-renewable resource depletion, industrial output, and pollution. For the first time, these interconnected forces could be observed together, evolving over centuries in mere minutes. The goal wasn't to predict a single event, but to understand the fundamental dynamics that govern our global system. They were charting the destiny of a planet, one calculation at a time. The scientists watched as the machine began to think. The initial results were electrifying. As the simulations ran, the green screen monitors lit up with graphs that all told the same story: exponential growth. Humanity's footprint on the planet was expanding at a staggering, unprecedented rate. Population boomed, industry surged, and resource consumption skyrocketed. The curves shot upwards, seemingly without limit. But then the model revealed its dark secret. In every scenario, this explosive growth was inevitably followed by a sharp, brutal decline. A collapse. The most shocking part wasn't the fall itself, but its cause. It wasn't triggered by a nuclear war, a killer asteroid, or a global pandemic. The collapse came from within the system itself. It was a collapse born from imbalance, from taking too much, too fast, until the system simply broke under its own weight. This pattern of rise and fall wasn't new. It's the oldest story in human history, a rhythm that has played out time and again. From the sun-baked ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the crumbling aqueducts of Rome and the vine-choked temples of the Maya, the ruins of past empires whisper the same cautionary tale. Each one reached a peak of power and complexity, only to be brought down by the very forces that fueled its ascent. Greed for more territory, overreach of its resources, and the slow, creeping exhaustion of its people and its land. The Industrial Revolution, the digital age, from the first cities of Sumer to the sprawling hubs of Silicon Valley, history hasn't just rhymed. It has repeated itself with frightening precision. The MIT team wasn't just programming a computer. They were quantifying the fatal flaw of civilization itself. The World 3 model identified what we can call the 4 horsemen of systemic collapse. These aren't mythical figures, but tangible forces that determine the fate of any society. First, political instability. As systems grow more complex, corruption festers, leadership fails, and social contracts fray, leading to internal conflict and paralysis. Second, social decay. The erosion of community values in favor of rampant consumerism, the spread of misinformation that poisons public discourse, and a loss of collective purpose. Third, environmental destruction. The relentless pollution of our air and water, the deforestation of our planet's lungs, and the destabilization of our climate. And finally, economic fragility. Boom and bust cycles, spiraling inflation, and financial systems built on speculative bubbles that are destined to pop. These 4 forces don't act alone. They feed each other, creating a feedback loop of decline. The computer crunched the numbers and the final output was laid bare on a single, terrifying graph. It showed the trajectory of humanity throughout the 21st century. The lines for population, food production, and industrial output all climbed steadily before reaching a distinct peak. According to the standard run of the World 3 model, this peak would occur around the year 2030. After that, the fall. A rapid decline in every metric that sustains our world. The model predicted that by 2040, the global system would be in a state of irreversible collapse. Not an apocalypse, not the end of humanity, but the end of our way of life as we know it. A period of prolonged, painful decline in living standards, population, and societal cohesion. The data had become a prophecy. When the team published their findings in a book called The Limits to Growth, the reaction was swift and dismissive. In a world drunk on the promise of infinite economic expansion, the report was labeled as doomsday fear-mongering. It was the 1970s, the stock market was booming, technology promised a brighter future, and oil executives laughed off warnings of resource depletion. Growth wasn't just an economic policy, it was the new global religion, and anyone who questioned it was treated as a heretic. The report was shelved in government offices, ridiculed in boardrooms, and largely forgotten by the public. The world chose to ignore the blinking red light on the dashboard and press its foot harder on the accelerator, chasing the horizon of endless progress, oblivious to the cliff's edge just beyond. For decades, the warning lay dormant, a footnote in academic history. Then, in 2020, the global consulting giant KPMG decided to revisit the 50-year-old prediction. With access to modern computing power and decades of real-world data that the MIT team could only dream of, a senior analyst named Gaia Harrington ran the numbers again. She compared the World 3 model's original projections against the actual global data for population, pollution, and resource use since 1972. The results sent a shockwave through the corporate and scientific communities. The unthinkable was confirmed. Our world was following the trajectory of the 1972 simulation with chilling accuracy. The KPMG report concluded that the collapse wasn't a distant future threat. The decline had already begun. The original model, as it turns out, was wrong about one critical detail. We aren't just on schedule for the predicted collapse. In many ways, we are ahead of it. The signs are all around us, escalating faster than the computer foresaw. Time lapses of our cities show them sprawling into once wild lands. Satellite images reveal glaciers melting at an alarming rate. News reports flicker with images of supply chain disruptions, empty shelves, and volatile markets. The extreme weather events, the political polarization, the economic uncertainty, these aren't separate crises. They are the symptoms of a global system under immense strain, wobbling on the precipice of the decline that World 3 predicted. We are not just living in the prophecy, we are accelerating it. The great civilizations of the past were not conquered in a single, decisive battle. Their endings were not dramatic, cinematic events. They were slow, grinding processes of decay, invisible to most who lived through them until it was too late. Rome did not fall in a day. It fell over centuries, one corrupt official, one failed harvest, one overstretched border at a time. Today, we look for our end in mushroom clouds or asteroid impacts, but the truth may be far more mundane. Civilizations don't die in battle. They die in spreadsheets. They crumble under the weight of numbers on a graph when the line representing what we consume finally, fatally, crosses the line of what our planet can provide. The curve has been plotted, and we are on it. We stand on the shoulders of giants, looking out over the ruins of empires that thought they were eternal. From the crumbling stones of Rome to the sun-bleached pyramids of ancient Egypt, a haunting question echoes through time. Why do great civilizations fall? We walk through these remnants, marvel at their ingenuity, and silently reassure ourselves, we're different. We've learned from their mistakes. We study their histories, analyze their missteps. the overreach, the inequality, the environmental degradation, and we swear it won't happen again. But does history repeat itself, or do we simply repeat history? The arrogance of the present is to believe we are immune to the patterns of the past. As we build our own monuments of steel and glass, are we just setting the stage for future ruins? Each time we swore it would be different. But look around. Have we truly broken the cycle? Look at the world we've built. Megacities that pulse with a relentless electric energy. Arteries of traffic pumping lifeblood into a system that never sleeps. From above, it's a breathtaking spectacle of human achievement. But zoom in, and the cracks begin to show. We are relentlessly chasing the phantom of infinite growth on a planet with very real, very finite limits. We have mortgaged the future of our children for the comforts of today, treating the earth not as a home to be nurtured, but as a warehouse to be emptied. The relentless pursuit of more has become our modern-day religion, and its temples are the gleaming shopping malls and soaring stock market indices. But this progress has a hidden cost, a debt that is coming due. We are consuming tomorrow, just to get through today. How long can we keep this up before the bill arrives? The warning lights are flashing, and the alarm bells are ringing louder every day. It's not just a feeling anymore, it's in the data. The very signals that the MIT model warned us about decades ago are no longer distant possibilities. They are our daily headlines. Global heat maps glow an angry, ominous red, a planetary fever we refuse to break. News clips flicker past, a dizzying montage of skyrocketing prices, devastating floods, and raging wildfires. Our societies are fraying at the seams, strained by political polarization and deepening social unrest. The foundations we thought were solid, our economy, our environment, our communities, are showing signs of severe stress. We are witnessing the slow-motion collision of our ambitions with reality. The system is overloaded, and every indicator is screaming that we are dangerously close to the breaking point. But here is the most crucial part. Collapse is not a predetermined destiny. It is not a prophecy written in stone. It is a choice. The same human ingenuity that can model our potential downfall holds the power to avert it. If data can predict the end, then our actions can rewrite the ending. This isn't about surrendering to despair. It's about waking up to our own agency. We see it in the small but powerful acts of defiance against the status quo. A child planting a tree, their small hands pressing soil around new roots, a quiet promise for the future. We see it in the silent, graceful turn of wind turbines on a hill, and in the glint of sun on a newly installed solar panel. It's in the faces of communities coming together, rebuilding what's broken, sharing resources, and remembering what it means to be neighbors. This is where hope lives, not in grand, sweeping promises, but in deliberate, collective action. The MIT model points to 2040 as a potential tipping point, a crossroads for humanity. But a model is just a map, not the territory. The story of our future is not yet written. Will it be one of burning forests, flooded cities, and fractured societies? Or will it be one of green cities, restored ecosystems, and thriving communities? The choice is ours, and it is being made right now, in the decisions we make every single day. The clock is ticking, and the future is not some distant, abstract concept. The future is watching us. It is waiting to see what we will do. The final chapter is in our hands. Let's write a story that makes them proud. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to join the conversation.